All right, this week the name on the marquee has got to be Leon Rocky Edwards, who this past weekend, in front of 17,000 strong at the O2 Arena in London at UFC 286, defeated Kamaru Usman by a majority decision. One judge had it 47-47. The other two judges both scored it 48-46 in favor of Edwards. In doing so, he defended, for the first time, his welterweight title, cementing his status as the undisputed welterweight king over Usman. Mark, let me bring you in first. What was your reaction to Leon Edwards winning this third meeting? Very different fight than the first two.
The boy did it, man. He legitimized himself as the welterweight champ. He did it in front of the home country crowd, which was awesome. They were heavy behind him, which was really cool to see. And he earned it. First off, before I get into the fight, Usman walking across the cage in the intros doing his typical thing, which is always wild to me how they allow this, but where he gets all the way across the cage into his opponent's face. Yeah. And Leon responding by shooting him with the fingers was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Just the clip of it, the picture of it, and all the more so since Leon won the fight. But as for the fight, I thought Leon won it clearly. Was it a close fight? Yes. Was it a competitive fight? Yes. Did he blow him away in any of the rounds? No. I mean, last one was pretty clear. But I thought Leon won rounds 1, 2, 4, and 5 of that fight. I even think there's an argument that he could have won 3, which would have made 3 a 9-9 round as opposed to a 10-8 for Usman. But yeah, I scored that fight 48-46. I did give 3 to Usman, so that's a 10-8. And I gave Leon all the rest. And honestly, I understand that round 2 was close. If you want to give round 2 to Usman, it's still a draw, and Leon is still the champ. So I feel like there's a little too much whining going on from maybe some Usman fans on Twitter and things saying robbery. Like, it wasn't. Usman did not win that fight. There is not a scenario where he won that fight. If you want to really push for it, maybe it was a draw. But I had a 48-46 Leon. I think he earned it. And he fought that fight exactly how I hoped he would and how I thought that he could. Like maybe a little less active with the hands than I thought he'd be, but otherwise nailed it. Like you fight Usman, you're always going to have to be backing up a bit and countering. But the backing up in this fight was wholly different than in the first fight. Here he's angling out. He's throwing shots while he's doing it. He's switching stances to change the space. He's stepping back in with his kicks. And all of that is what makes Kamaru think. And making Kamaru think somewhat defensively is what prevents him from being able to do these pressure blitzes that he loves and the constant takedown attempts and all of that. So that was missing in the first fight, and it was here throughout in this fight. And honestly, that's the most tentative I've seen Kamaru. Like, I won't say that he looked bad. He still had his moments, but he was absolutely not as aggressive as we're used to seeing. So you got to wonder how much getting knocked out was playing in his mind, because obviously that's not something that he's dealt with before. And maybe he was a little less willing to engage the way he normally does because he was trying to make sure he didn't get put out cold again. But aside from that, the other key to this fight was how well Leon Edwards got up. He got up every damn time, and that was absolutely not the case in the first fight. So I don't know if that's the elevation, if it's a better camp, if it's just watching tape. It could be a combo of all those things. But in a fight where Usman can't keep Leon on the ground, the pendulum swings. And the kicks of Leon were a big, big story. He could never find the big one like he did it in the last fight, but the kicks, I thought, really guided him to winning most of these rounds. I think they were his top weapon in that fight. And it was a pretty damn perfect fight from Leon. It was maybe a slip down a peg, like I said, for Kamaru for the first time. It kind of felt that way, but it will be really interesting to see where each guy goes from here. And as funny as it sounds, I'm honestly proud of Leon because that's how I thought he could fight Usman. It's kind of how I thought he'd fight him the first time, and to see him do it was pretty cool. So great job from him.
Omar, let's bring you in here. Give us your take. What do you think was the story of the fight as far as Leon Edwards making adjustments in his overall approach and in his stand-up game?
I think Leon looked consistent. I think that was one of the things that we didn't see in their first championship fight together. You know, he he was strong in the first round, and then kind of faded 2, 3, and 4. Kind of tried to find his marbles back in 5, and kind of threw that Hail Mary kick that gave us where we're at now. But there wasn't, for me, there wasn't a lot of that back and forth as far as the momentum was concerned. I thought Leon Edwards kind of handily took that fight. Again, just like Mark, I thought the rounds were competitive, but for me, I thought they were pretty clear. I gave him 1, 2, 4, and 5 as well. 3 I gave to Usman. And while I was watching live, I was like, going into 4 and 5, this is really the only rounds that matter. And I thought Leon Edwards won both of those rounds, I think even more emphatically than he won rounds 1 and 2. I thought it was a great performance from Leon. I thought it was an even better performance. Well, it was obviously a better performance, but I think the win, the value of that win, I think was even higher than the first championship fight with the head kick. You know, he caught him. We had a moment, and you know, pound for pound, headshot dead. We came away with all these great things, but the reality is Leon was losing a good chunk of that fight, if not the entire fight. You know, sans round 1, and so to watch him come in there and really put on a completely different performance, the type of performance, like Mark said, that we all knew. Well, most of us, not Mike, but the ones that me and Mark knew were going to happen.
Shots.
But yeah, man, the performance was top notch, and again, just like Mark, I was happy for him, man. I was really happy for him, and I think you could see the elation in not only knocking out the pound for pound best at the time, you know, one of the pound for pound best at least at heavyweight or welterweight, but now he really beat him for real, in a real 5-round competitive contest. No one was able to put anybody away, so who just fought better? And I did feel like it was Leon Edwards.
Man, my picks sucked this card. I think Gaethje was my only one that I got right.
Yeah.
And
I think you said you had 3 apart from us, because me and Mark, I think, had the same.
Yeah, I think me and Omar went 4 and 2, and you went 3 and 3. It wasn't so bad.
Yeah. The 3 that you were
I got the least wrong
on, though. Yeah, you got 2 out of the 3 that
I got
wrong.
Nelson wrong. I got Gunnar wrong.
Yeah, you were 3.
Anyway.
No, you picked Gunnar.
No, I picked Barberena, I thought. Didn't I?
No, you didn't.
Oh, well, good for me.
No. Yeah, my claim to fame on this one, and I remember you made like a shocked face when I said it, is I said I could see it being 49-46 Leon, and it basically was without the point deduction.
Without the point.
Yeah.
Dude, his reaction, he went on Ariel, and Ariel was talking about the point deduction and all this stuff, and he was like, so you look back at the fight now, and what do you think about that moment there, that fence grab? And he was like, yeah, I grabbed the fence. And he just started laughing about it. It's like there was no doubt about it. 100% grabbed the fence on that one.
That shit was obvious. People were bitching about the nut shots. That shit happens, man. It's not like he was doing it on purpose. They were stepping in. Those things happen. The fence grab was blatant, and he lost the point like he should have lost the point.
Super blatant. Blatant.
Yeah, man. The fence grab was not a good look. What was even a worse look was that when Herb, was trying to get him into the center to take the point, Leon was like, he did the soccer player hands, like, what? He's like, what did I do?
I think he was trying to say that it was like the first grab and that he should have got a warning, and Herb was just like, yes, shut up.
He's like, you've already kicked him in the nuts 3 times.
Yeah.
Enough. Could not be more happy for Leon Edwards, even though I did pick Kamaru. Man, these 2 guys, I could watch these guys fight over and over again. Both of them have incredible records, have been on incredible upswings of their careers. I mean, Leon Edwards, my God. So just real quick, with this trilogy fight, Edwards also notches his very first title defense of the welterweight belt. He is now on a 3-fight win streak since that no contest with Bilal Muhammad back in 2021, which Edwards was on his way to winning. And had he won, he would be on a 12-fight win streak right now. With this title win, his overall record improves to 21-3. And with that, let us talk about what is next for the welterweight king, Leon Edwards. Mark, put on your matchmaker hat for the UFC. Who is next for the belt? Is it Colby? Is it Bilal? Who should it be?
I mean, it's two answers, right? If I am putting on my matchmaker hat, as you say, I think it should probably be Bilal. I'm operating in a world where Chimaev is now middleweight, since that's what we've been hearing. So I'm not including him in this conversation. I think it should probably be Bilal. I think the win streak is a lot to ignore. I think him and Leon already have the history of that no contest that you just mentioned. There was some bad blood coming out of that one. Obviously, Bilal's been calling for this fight for a long time. That's where I would go right now. Now, do I think that Colby Covington is the best welterweight who was not in the cage on Saturday night? Yeah, I think I do. But I would just like to see the man win another fight before we go give him a title shot. Switching to the real matchmaking, it sounds as if it is going to be Leon and Colby. That is what Dana said it's going to be. Now, granted, Leon has been pushing back pretty hard, which is going to get interesting. He has basically been saying, I have a right to have a say here as the champion, and I'm not fighting Colby. So who knows how this is going to play out? We'll see. Maybe it will be Leon and Bilal after all. I got to think whoever doesn't fight Leon out of Colby and Bilal probably fights Shavkat at this point. So some form of that, I think, is how this plays out, but I guess we'll see.
Omar, if you had your pick, who would you want to give the next welterweight title shot to?
If I had my pick, it would be Bilal. The shit they're doing to that kid is pretty heinous. I mean, we're at Tony Ferguson territory here with how many fights he's got now that he's not getting a title shot. I think the crazy thing is the wolf tickets Dana White is trying to sell us, talking about how much Colby Covington deserves this fight. What fucking drugs is that man on? He must have gotten involved in the power slap a little too much and gotten hit one too many times. There's no way you're going to sell... To who are you selling that to? Maybe to the casuals who don't know who anybody is. But that shit is crazy. Colby Covington, his last win was Jorge Masvidal at the end of his downslope. He's been in fucking court for the last year and a half bitching and moaning that he got his tooth knocked out. Where are we... What are we doing? Why wasn't Bilal the backup there? Like, if we're doing this for numbers, then we're doing this for numbers. But let's not pretend that Colby Covington deserves this title shot, because that's absolute garbage. He hasn't fucking fought anybody in that top 10 division, let alone the top 5.
Frankly, one of you said this, I think, or unless it was a different person I was texting with, but Bilal and Colby should have just fought on this card, and we wouldn't have any of these problems.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they should have been the fucking co-main. Easy
It's
enough.
hilarious, though, because Bilal's been calling out Colby for how long now at this point? And then nobody knows where Colby is. We've been talking about that for weeks now, right? Like, where the fuck is Colby? Whenever we're matching people up in the welterweight division, at the top of this division, we're like, oh, I don't know what Colby's doing, but maybe let's match him up with him. I don't know what he's doing, but let's match him up with him. And all of a sudden, this motherfucker pops up in the middle of goddamn London, talking about, hey, I'm here for the backup. What? Yeah, it's crazy.
It would be
the whole thing is crazy.
It would be a great title eliminator fight between the two of them at this point.
Oh,
but
for
both
sure.
of them are trying to just make the argument that they should be fighting for the title themselves, respectively. So,
if we're gonna do numbers, you might as well just fucking give it to Masvidal. You're gonna tell me Masvidal and Leon Edwards don't do more than Leon Covington, because we know that's bullshit.
Oh yeah, Leon and Masvidal with the little tape they can put together in the 3-piece in the soda is gonna do the most buys out of all of it. Granted, Masvidal has to beat Burns for that to even be a possibility, which,
if he does,
is no easy task.
Is no easy task. But if he does beat Burns, you better believe promotionally they're getting that guy right back in.
And Leon wants it. Leon's been saying that for a while. That if Jorge wins, that's what he'd rather do.
That's money for Leon. Leon getting them pay-per-view points now. Yeah. That's money for Leon,
because they can promote the shit out of that fight.
That's easy. That's free promotion. Everything's already done.
Yeah, like 5 years ago.
Yeah. Every interview is basically going to be Leon and Masvidal talking about how they're going to kill each other and how all this and then the other. It'll be like a John Jones DC shit all over again. It'll be great.
And
Yeah,
I think
and it's
that
soon.
stylistically, I think that's a good fight.
It's in 2
Oh, it
weeks.
is.
So, like, 2 weeks from now, we might have a Masvidal who is inserted into this top of the heap conversation.
Let's go.
Leon should show his ass in Miami.
But spoiler, I think I'm picking Gilbert Burns.
Sure.
I think a lot of people are, but
Okay, let's talk about the former champ now, Kamaru Usman. He now falls to 20-3 as a pro overall. Still a unbelievable pro record. This is his first time ever with consecutive losses. Definitely closes the door on his welterweight title reign. Omar, if you were the matchmaker of the UFC, what would you do next with the Nigerian Nightmare?
well, now, knowing that Dana White is trying to do the Leon Edwards, Colby Covington, Bilal basically just got like thrown in the trash by his foster dad. I think you do Usman Bilal. I think that's the only thing that makes sense. Bilal at this point needs an opportunity to not get shafted, right? Like he's got a lot of wins, but the reality is he doesn't technically have a win, I don't think, over a top 5 guy right now. Current top 5 guy. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve the title shot because he does. He's on what, an 8-9 fight win streak, something fucking ridiculous, and he's been looking like toot sweet in his performances. Yeah. So I make the argument that Bilal should be getting the title shot, especially over somebody who's been inactive for the last year and a half, and his last fight was a decision win over Jorge Masvidal, who he couldn't put away, and Jorge Masvidal was like in need of an oxygen tank. So I'm just, I've been more impressed personally by Bilal Muhammad than I have by Colby Covington in recent memory. So yeah, I think Bilal needs that win over somebody elite, and I think Usman's the guy to do that.
Okay, Mark, any other ideas for what Usman might get next in terms of his next matchup?
So it's very hard with him because obviously it's not Leon again. He's fought Colby twice. He's already beaten Burns. He's already beaten Jorge. And then there's Bilal. But if it's Colby Leon, I really think it's going to be Bilal Shavkat because I don't think they want to run the risk of Usman winning and then being right there for a title shot again against one of Leon or Colby who he's fought all these times already. So yeah. I kind of think it's going to be Bilal Shavkat, which leaves Usman with like, I don't exactly know who it would even make sense for him to be fighting because he's fought all these other guys at the top. I've seen some people throwing out him and Wonder Boy, which is like kind of cool, but kind of like,
Brandon?
damn, that's what we have to do with Usman. Like it kind of feels like a shuffle down. So I don't know. To me, I almost feel like he maybe wants to wait, let this Burns Jorge fight happen, let some bookings happen, and then just see what actually makes sense. And if Wonder Boy is the only thing that does, then sure. But I think maybe wait a bit.
Yeah, for that, I mean, I would even do the loser then of Shavkat and Bilal because I think you're right. I think that is what Dana White is trying to go with.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Question: where do you have Stephen Wonderboy Thompson in the Prio rankings?
Directly below everyone we just said.
Okay.
Oh, and above Jorge, but it's Leon, Usman, Colby. I still have Chimaev in them. Bilal, Burns, Shavkat, Wonderboy.
Yeah.
Neil, Jorge.
I feel like Usman should definitely be right there at the top because, I mean, look, the guy has the second longest welterweight reign since, or rather the longest welterweight reign since GSP, with, I believe, 6 title fights in his reign since winning it, including winning it, I think. And the second fight with, the last fight with Edwards went how it went. He got caught at the very end in a fight that he was absolutely dominating. This fight, I will say that I think Edwards won the fight convincingly, but I don't think that Edwards was dominating Usman. He never really had Usman hurt. Usman was never rocked at any point, really. I don't think at all, really, right?
He took a baseball bat to the head at least twice. Didn't knock him out like it did in the last fight.
Sure.
But homeboy felt it, and the sweat came off of his head, so he definitely got hit.
That knee staggered him for sure. That was a big knee. What round was
yeah,
that?
dude.
Round 2?
Edwards was throwing some nasty fucking knees to the head from full clinch. That was
that's what it
that was nasty. People don't do that as much anymore. That was great.
I think, speaking of great, part of the equation that makes Kamaru Usman great is that he can take a punch, man. He can take a strike.
Oh
Yeah,
like anybody.
Yeah,
and he has a good poker face, and he has great defense to begin with. So
his face also is like the two of them don't really show a ton of damage.
Yes, agree.
You know, they don't. You know, both of them.
yeah, it's true.
Leon landed a lot of shit in that fight, and Usman didn't really look too scratched up. I'm sure once he heals up and some other shit goes on, maybe there'll be some swelling or whatever. But they both didn't really look too bad by the end of that fight.
It's true. All right, well, let's move on. In the interest of time, congrats to Leon Rocky Edwards, not only for winning this this third trilogy fight with Kamaru, but also congrats for being on the marquee on And New MMA show.